Testing.
All right. That hurt.
Okay. Howdy, boneheads, and welcome back to Connor Unscripted. It still exists. I didn't forget about it. It's a part of this channel that people clearly care about. We're here to have a little chat, to have a little talk, to see what it's like to be me when I don't. I don't even know what the hell I'm saying. Are there any horror podcasts you love but have yet to recommend? If so, what are they about? The Magnus Archives has set such a high bar, and anything that manages to be even half as compelling is worth a listen. I listen to all kinds of podcasts. One of the most recent ones I listened to, obviously, was The Sounds of Nightmares, which I would recommend if you're someone who's personally invested in that series. I am an SQ. That got recommended to me by someone who was watching one of my videos, and I've really been enjoying that. Wolf 359. It's less horror. It's kind of horror sci-fi, but it's a lot jokier and more sci-fi than anything else. But it's really cool. It talks about the nature of reality, human relationships, and trust. A big one, most people who are fans of Magnus Archives, I think, also really enjoy Malevolent. I like Malevolent a lot, but I like parts of it. There are certain it sets up the story in one way, but after a certain point, I feel like it maybe loses track of things. It's still ongoing, though, so I don't know. Maybe they've fixed it. I've not been fully keeping track of it, but it's worth it. I have talked about this before. Left-Right Game, really fun. I definitely recommend that. You can also find a bunch of kind of like individual horror stories like being made into full podcasts. Like, for instance, stuff like Borasica and the Left-Right Game have Q Code Productions, which include like really high quality voice acting. I think one of the Sprouse brothers is in Borasica. Good sound effects and stuff, so those are always really nice. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing. I've started Midnight Burger. Oh, Old Gods of Appalachia. That one's awesome. I'm actually always still on the lookout for new good horror podcasts. So what entity would you serve in the Magnus Archives? Incredible question. I can't believe I have never considered this. I guess the question is, does it have to be something that I am obsessed with, or is it something that I am afraid of that would be even more horror tragedy to begin serving? So let me think. Part of me thinks The Stranger, because as a big dude who likes to go walking alone at night, I have had many a circumstance where I have ended up behind. I also walk very quickly, so if you are ahead of me and I am behind you, I tend to catch up with you over the course of a couple minutes if we're walking in the same direction. So I have had many an instance where I am walking behind someone at night and they're like looking behind their shoulder. Usually what I do is I just stop, I look at my phone for a second until they're very clearly out of the way, and it's like, I'm not chasing you to murder you. But that's kind of the thing with The Stranger. You're not certain. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they're capable of. I think that's very possible. I think that makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. Shit. You know what? I'm gonna look up a little Magnus Archives list. I am one of the Magnus Archives YouTubers, and I can't remember all of the entities. Magnus Archives fears. The buried, the corruption, the dark, maybe the dark, the desolation, the end, the eye, also maybe the eye, the flesh, the hunt, the lonely. Oh! It's probably the lonely. We'll talk about that in a second. The slaughter, the spiral, the stranger, the vast, the web. I am gonna go ahead and say, if I were to serve any group, it would probably be the lonely. And the reason for that is this. I don't like people. This may surprise you as someone who puts themselves in front of a lot of people all the time, but I truly do not like interacting with people. Interacting with my YouTube community is a very different thing because it's about something specific, and it's kind of my job, and it's a lot of stuff like that. But in reality, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to go to places. I want to stay home. I want to be by myself. I can count on probably one hand the amount of people I am comfortable spending a lot of time around, like more than a couple hours. So if anything, yeah, I would probably be serving the lonely because I am an introvert. I'm someone who likes being by themselves. And probably, and this works out, probably sometimes to an unhealthy degree. You know, I'm someone who's anxious, someone who's prone to depression, someone who's ADHD. So I just started playing Silent Hill 2, and also I finished playing Silent Hill 2. Play it all at once, play it back to back. I was getting footage, but yeah, I think realistically it would have to be the lonely. Who was your first cartoon crush? Raven from Teen Titans. What is, in your opinion, the absolute best piece of horror media of all time? That is a really hard question. I don't think I have an answer. I don't think it's just one piece of horror fiction. My immediate thought, what I immediately gravitate to, is House of Leaves. I think House of Leaves is perhaps one of the most transformative and interesting, not just horror, but just fiction in general I've ever consumed. I think the Magnus Archives is very high on my list. I love The Exorcist. My favorite horror movie is Skinamarink, but that doesn't mean it's the best. A lot of people really don't like Skinamarink. I don't know. I really don't think there is just one thing. If I'm gonna reduce it, which I'll do right now, I'm gonna reduce it to House of Leaves. I think House of Leaves is the best horror I've ever consumed. I think it's the most provocative. I think it does the most and has the most perspective, and it's just the most interesting. So I'm gonna say House of Leaves. But there is so much great shit out there. It's what my entire channel exists for. If there was just one good de facto piece of horror content, it would not be worth analyzing the other stuff. What's a game you absolutely adore but don't expect to bring up on this channel? Just Cause 3. I've played so much Just Cause 3 since it came out. Realistically, it's probably stuff like a lot of the roguelikes I play. Like, I really like Balatro. I like Duskers. I would talk about Duskers, though. Peglin. I really enjoy Peglin. Slay the Spire. Probably a lot of those things. But I think one thing that I do kind of I make a point to do is most of the games that I play in my life, I think are games that would be worth talking about on the channel. It just kind of makes sense, right? My channel is mostly about the content that I was already consuming and interested in. I consume the content that already makes sense for my channel, so mostly nothing. What type of horror scares you the most? Horror that forces you to use your imagination, and to a lesser degree, body horror. The reason horror that forces you to use your imagination is, I made an entire video about this, my quiet horror essay, because it's universal. It works for anyone, and you can come up with something that is very scary for yourself. The reason body horror is specifically, I've gotten a lot better with it in the past couple of years, but I specifically have like a thing about vasculature. I don't like veins, and that's also part of the reason that I have a pretty intense phobia about needles. It's about the veins. I don't like veins. I don't like how fragile they are, how they're just kind of like the wiring for your body that, like, if you cut, there are specific spots on your body that if you cut, you're just dead. Just all the blood just leaves and you're dead. And that is concerning to me. I don't love that. Eeriness, like what's the valley? What am I talking about? What's it called? Something Valley. Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Uncanny Valley. The Uncanny Valley. Uncanny Valley stuff really used to get to me. I remember being a little kid, and when the Purge movies came out, I remember watching the trailer for the very first one, and those movies are not scary, but I was very young when the first trailer came out, and I remember there's the scene where all of the assholes or whatever are standing outside the door looking up at like the security camera, and they're all wearing like human masks. They are masks of people, but they're just like very smiley and very odd. And for some, like, when I looked up at the screen at wherever I was, for some reason I didn't clue into the fact that they were masks. I was like, oh, that's just what these people look like. And that really got to me for some reason. Here's another part, and this one's kind of embarrassing. A little while ago when that movie, what was it, Truth or Dare came out, they had this stupid way of doing the horror, which is just essentially a Snapchat filter to make all of the smiles very just fake, just angular. That shit for a while used to really get to me, and then all of a sudden, like, I woke up one day and I was like, that's stupid. It's all stupid. When you're a horror fan, or even if you're not, if you consume horror enough, it stops working, or at least certain things stop working. And it's why, now I enjoy stuff that makes me use my imagination, because I've seen a lot of the stuff that, doesn't. A jump scare, or a spider, or like a weird lanky figure who's very pale and has dark eyes, and that's the entity. Like, I've seen that. And so it's easier to just go into the brain and try to figure out what I haven't seen. How long on average does it take you to write a script? It really depends. It really depends. I have written entire scripts in one day, and I have taken an entire month to write a script. The longest it ever took to write a script was for my Dark Americana essay, because that one required a lot of research. Some of the shorter video essays on this channel, I was able to write very quickly. In fact, a couple of them were like editor tests. I just wrote a video fully like, if this doesn't do well, it's fine. I am just making this so an editor can make some things. Children is Horror, that one was very short for me. Lavender Town, Pokey Horror, probably my worst performing video essay. That one was very short. But otherwise, it generally, like, real time takes me anywhere from like 4 to 10 hours. And I don't count research, I count like writing and editing. It's a process, and it's something that I'm very invested in and enjoy doing. But it takes a long time. It takes forever. I can't even read this comment because my phone is blocking it. Where do you see yourself taking this channel in the future? I think about this all the time. My primary goal is to make this channel, my primary source of income so it can be my job and I can just keep doing what I'm doing with it. Long term, I want to keep making video essays. I want to keep analyzing the stuff I love and introducing people who have not seen it to it in a way that I think works for people who are similar in mindset to me. That's not the only thing I want to do though. I also, and this is why I've got stuff like night shares and my writing competition, I want to help indie horror creators, not just horror, but primarily horror. I want to help indie creators get their work out there and get an audience for people who would struggle to build one up otherwise, whether, they're an indie team who just doesn't have any prior projects and need a jump start, or their work is niche and maybe not something you would immediately click on, but once someone else explained it to you, it could be better. I want to do that all the time. I really love indie horror content. I think it's some of the best horror content that's coming out, just kind of across the board. The more I can actually help serve that and help serve to make horror a more serious and full of quality and varied content, that would be great for me. And then the longest term is, my main goal is I want to write horror in whatever context. I would love to write a book. I would love to create a podcast. I would love to direct a movie or show if I ever got that insane opportunity. I think YouTube is such a great spot because if you make your channel about this thing and you just keep following it and you keep growing, eventually you can, this thing you made your channel about can extend to reach in a lot of different directions. So that's long answer, probably what I want. Those are all the questions. I feel like I've done nothing wild. I feel like I should just talk about shit I want to talk about now. I've been watching Yellow Jackets, very much enjoying that. I never watched Lost, but it feels a lot like probably what people liked about Lost, mixed in with some interesting acting choices. It's got some supernatural stuff. I have not been streaming in forever. Have you guys noticed that? Have you noticed how I never stream? I got a new bed. It's so big. I am 6'3". I don't know if you can tell that about me from when I hit my head earlier. I'm 6'3", and I've been sleeping in a twin-size bed for years. I finally got a queen. I feel like we've probably got enough footage here, don't we? I've been making music recently. Here's some of it. So I'll let you know when that comes out. It's for D&D, obviously. I play the guitar, if people didn't know this. Not well. Today is gonna be the day. I don't believe that anybody... What are you drinking, Connor? English breakfast tea. I love tea. Let's end this. Let's end this fucking video. No! No! He's fucking dead. What? Okay. This has been Connor Unscripted. I am Connor Unscripted. That's my last name. What the fuck am I talking about? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it was fun. I hope it was a little different change of pace, just like the other ones. It's been great. It's been lovely. I enjoy getting to yell at you vaguely and answer some questions. And I'll see you in another fucking 6 months when I decide to do this again. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.